Georgia Railroad, next stop, Houston County Superior Court. So I finally got my hands on the original indictment of the Dexter Williams case. As you can see here, this is the grand jury, and down below are a list of all co-defendants and Dexter Williams and the first count of the violation of racketeering, RICO. All right, before we get too far in, let's go down chain of custody. Why evidence integrity matters. Chain of custody refers to the document process to track the evidence from collection to courtroom, ensuring it remains untampered. OCGA subsection 24-9-901. Importance of chain of custody: prevents contamination, maintain credibility, ensures admissibility. Now, was chain of custody followed in the Dexter Williams case? I just wanted to break this down because I want you guys to know it went across 3 jurisdictions. There's a lot of, there's no gray area with chain of custody. It has to be documented. But I want you guys to get an idea of what exactly it means and why it matters. One more thing, predicated acts are specific, independently provable crimes that the state must prove beyond a reasonable doubt to establish RICO. The importance of predicated acts form the foundation of a RICO charge. Necessary to prove a pattern of racketeering activity, require proof of a commission of a crime. So you gotta prove it. You just can't say that's what somebody's doing. Examples of it: drug trafficking, money laundering, robbery, extortion, fraud. Example of what not predicated at are: unproven alleged conduct. Just allegations, that's not a predicated act. Incidental to the commission of a predicated act. So doing something that's connected to a predicated act does not constitute a predicated act, and multiple acts of the same offense. It's not predicated acts, okay? Let's be clear about that. Okay, now we got that out the way. This is just the first indictment. You can see the docket number, 49 pages, man. We ain't gonna go through it all. I just want to get to one section of it. Each one of these are essentially activities. I wouldn't even consider them predicated acts. I'll go back up and show you guys the predicated acts they have on this initial indictment. But this page is very important. This breaks down the March 4th arrest date. Y'all guys read this out, screenshot. This is actually the date where they allegedly found the 40 keys, allegedly found the $280,000 in Milledgeville, the 40 keys in Macon, all right? So this is very important right here. I want you guys to make sure this is the initial indictment, all right? This is the one Dick was indicted on in November of 2020, but this recounts the March 4th arrest date. Keep this in mind, guys. Very important. All right, for the sake of simplicity, all right, as you can see all the way at the top up there, that's the original indictment, the one we just looked at, all right? The arrow is pointing to, it was re-indicted on the new indictment number. You see that indictment number? All right, you got it? And then the date that this was entered into the court was October the 28th, 2021, all right? Make sure that, hey, look, squeeze in down there at the bottom. That's the stamp on it. This is real factual stuff. This ain't no make-believe. There ain't nobody fabricated. The stamp is down there, all right? This is what, during trial, Dexter went to trial on the 25th of October of this month, 2020. They re-indicted. See that? Null pros the indictment that he was in court on, without his knowledge. Let that be known. Without his knowledge, on the 28th, 3 days after the day the trial started, right? And then they re-indict him on that. It's a new indictment, right here. Look at the top up there in the corner. New indictment number. What's different from this? Ain't but one name on this list now. All the co-defendants, everybody else gone. Ain't but one name on there. Dexter Lee Williams. All right, you can see down there, it tells you, start getting into the predicated acts. You guys can read into that. We can get down into that and go down into the particular, but this is not what this video is about. I want you to get this right here, all right? I want you to get, all right, you can pause and read this one too. This one only has 16 pages. The first one was a 49. Of course, it's shorter with lesser co-defendants. We're gonna scroll down to the last page and you'll see we're gonna get down. And all these are predicated acts, but we're gonna get to the last page we're trying to get to. Watch the here it comes. This is the last page on the new indictment. Do you guys notice anything different? All right, and you can notice the last page by reading the last sentence, right? Just let you know they done. This the last page. What is that? What's that 94? Is that 94? 84? What does that say? It said Kelton Keyshawn Mims on March 2nd, 2020 did knowingly possess with the intent to distribute cocaine, Schedule 2, boom, boom, boom. What's different? Oh, this is the original indictment page. Look, March 4th. So this is the original indictment with everybody on it. And the March 4th date is the arrest date. Why is that important? Let's dive into it. Now, why does this matter? The fact that the arresting date is not on the new indictment like it was on the original indictment, all right? On the Georgia RICO requires a pattern of racketeering activity, right? At least 2 predicated acts, right? Acts proven beyond a reasonable doubt, acts tied to the defendant, and acts found by the jury. Now that number 5 is key, because as we dive deep into this series, you'll understand, or we dive deep into this segment, you'll understand that the jury has to find you guilty. Not nothing to find, the jury has to find you guilty on the predicated acts, not RICO itself. RICO is not a charge. RICO is the I would say the equivalent of the charge, and you have to have at least 2, and they can't be redundant of the same thing. They have to be 2 individual provable acts. And reason why this is like at the bottom, critically, predicate act must be complete crime. They cannot be speculative, anticipatory, or dependent on later events. So if the last indictment ended on March 2nd, then the alleged arrest on March 4th voids the prosecution or voids the conviction. See, this is the core problem. All right. In the case of the re-indictment, if the final predicated act ends before the arrest, then the predicated acts are essentially the evidence that is seized, the probable cause that crystallized this search or this arrest, and the investigation bears fruit. So that confirms your investigation. That confirms your probable cause to arrest. That confirms your reason to indict. And the fact on the new indictment, unbeknownst to all this unbeknownst to Mr. Dexter and his defense team. So this poses the question, how can the state rely on the fruits of an arrest that occurs outside the charged predicated act window? This creates a 3 overlapping legal problem. Red flag number 1, the backward built RICO theory. By moving the last predicated date to March 2nd, the state suggests the RICO pattern was complete before the arrest. Nope. The arrest did not establish the pattern. Nope. The arrest merely confirmed. Nope. That is not true, right? But the record shows the arrest is the primary evidentiary event. Evidence was seized at the arrest, and without it, much of the conduct is unproven and infertile, right? This supports a legitimate inference that the indictment was reshaped to survive procedural and timing problems, not to reflect the actual investigative sequence. Checkmate. Red flag number 2, predicate act versus proof. Predicate acts are not stories. They are crimes that must be proven. What the record shows, on the March 4th arrest, produced evidence, and that evidence was used at trial. But predicate acts stopped on March 2nd. That means the state is asking the jury to use evidence from outside the charged predicated period and to prove acts inside the charged predicated period at the same damn time. This is legally dangerous. The jury convicted based on evidence that does not correspond to the charge. This is a variance problem under Georgia law. Oh wait, there's red flag number 3, speedy trial and notice implications. Changing predicated act date is not neutral. It affects when the crime is deemed complete, when the state cases occurs, when constitutional clocks may begin or reset. If the re-indictment is entitled to ask, what exactly am I defending against, and when was it complete? That is due process notice, not semantics. See, that's just a play on words what they trying to do. I'm telling you. Hey, there's more. Red flag number 4. Jury findings matters most. No predicated acts or dates specified in the verdict, right? Shifted timeline, non-specific verdict, arrest-derived evidence. Can a conviction stand where the verdict doesn't anchor the predicated acts? All the Dick was convicted on RICO. RICO is not a charge, especially without predicated acts, and especially without the March 4th arrest. Stay tuned, because I ain't even through yet. I'm just ran out of time.
Y'all stay rocking with me.